good, guys? It's Ilson 4K. And if you're here, well, I already know why you're here, because you saw it and I saw it, the last trailer before the season premiere of Stranger Things Season 4, May 27th. Netflix, of course, for anyone who's been living under a rock and where to see that. Absolutely mind-blowing trailer. Hands down the best trailer I've ever seen for something that was not going to be in a movie theater. Series-wise, there is no other trailer that could ever compare to this. Fantastically amazing, answers a few questions from the end of season 3 and just gives us a whole bunch of new ones for season 4. So we got to get right into it right now. Let's talk about what we saw right out the gate. We get a little bit of closure from the end of season 3. We see Mad Max sitting in front of her brother's grave, reading a letter out loud about how much she misses him and how much she wishes things can go back to the same. And this is kind of a touching moment for anyone like myself, who really got into season 3 and, you know, learned to understand that Billy was just a troubled individual and that, you know, he was really possessed at the time by a by a demigorgon, and we never really got to learn who he was outside of his little, you know, snarky self-absorbed self, you know, running around making Steve feel inferior and not being the coolest kid on the block, because of course, you know, Billy was the new guy who had to upstage everybody, especially in his cool Camaro, which I loved. And it's really nice to see them just give us the closure of what was going on with him. From there, it cuts into showing the kids now as they're older, as she's continuing to narrate about how much she misses them. Shows, you know, Lucas now with the kid and play haircut. Shows Mike and I believe 11 watching him play basketball, because he's actually playing basketball on the court for the school, of course. It's really fantastic seeing how much these kids aged. Mike is, of course, shown looking off in the distance, very concerned. It actually shows them at a roller rink going around in a circle, which is really nice. I guess this will be a new thing, because for those of you who might or might not remember, in the 70s and 80s, roller rinks were really, really big, especially as arcades came into maturity and people wanted a place to play games and hang out and do something else. You know, your girl would roller skate and you could play arcade games. That was like the thing, I don't know, when you were a teenager back then. And that was really cool to see them bring that, because, you know, the thing about Stranger Things that's so magical is how well they capture this 80s feel and 80s vibe. From this season, it looks like they're continuing to do that perfectly, especially with Journey playing over the whole trailer. Oh, so good. I'm such a cheeseball for 80s movies and music. I mean, I'm terrible with it. I absolutely am like the guiltiest party of loving way too much 80s cheese in every way, shape, and form. From the hair metal to the hip hop to the TV shows to the cartoons and the movies, I love 80s shit. So I can't stress it enough how cool Stranger Things is to me. Onward and upward, they show us where the police chief is now. For those of you who haven't been watching the spoiler trailers, there was a trailer that showed he's actually alive. Yes, he's alive after that gigantic explosion at the end of season 3. The trailer that premiered, I think, a year and a half or 2 years ago showed him in Russia, of all places. Yes, Russia, where they have taken him at the end of the season 3. You'll notice that there's a demigorgon that they show at the end of the final credits, released into a room full of Russian people. Well, this is where the police chief now is, inside of this confines, this imprisonment. It shows him tied up in the first scene after really just looks like they beat the shit out of him, and they put a mask on him that's a gas mask, and then it cuts to a scene of him and a bunch of people banding together with spears and lighting the ends on fire as a demi-dog jumps out of the darkness. And I don't know what happens there. That's the end of that. It now cuts to a little bit more of a serious affair, as it shows 11 actually getting picked up by a county van, and Mike is sitting on his bike watching 11 get taken away in the back of a county thing, and it shows 11 looking through, like, you know, the little circular bars on the police van as she's being taken away. It's really quite breathtaking. And then we find out there's an even bigger fucking problem, and I mean a huge problem. Apparently there's a war going on, I guess, somewhere, somehow. Maybe it's between Russia and America, maybe it's not. This is a question that they have us posing. What is this war that the scientist from season 3 has come back to basically have 11 arrested, as they cut to a scene of a diner just in the middle of nowhere? It's just the diner in the middle of the desert, and a helicopter coming down and landing, and he comes out and tells 11 that he needs her for this war that's coming. So I'm assuming it's a war between the upside down and the not upside down. Maybe it's between Russia and America. Maybe they're trying to figure out in America or Russia who can weaponize this stuff first, because that seemed to be the gist at the end of season 3, or the entire season 3 was that, you know, of course, as always in these situations, especially 80s movies tropes, the government wants to weaponize some crazy shit that should just be destroyed. And that's how it goes every time. It's really interesting to see that 11 comes out and tells him, I don't have my powers anymore, I can't help you guys, and he says, you don't understand, I need you. Speaking of her powers, here's another question. We then see a scene of Mad Max at the grave with Lucas and I believe Dustin, and it cuts to her levitating up in the sky. That's right, she lifts up in the sky, which is also insane because if you've been watching these spoiler trailers, you've been hearing about this Victor Creel guy, if I recall his name, who's being played by Robert Englund. All of us know that name, of course, is the guy who plays Freddy Krueger. Robert Englund is playing this Victor Creel guy who apparently is one of the, or supposedly one of the original children. You know how 11 is 11 and there's 6, 7, whatever. Well, he might be 1 or 2 or one of the earlier ones, depending on, because the newspaper clippings that they show about him in another previous spoiler trailer for the season shows like some 1970s experiments. Victor Creel seems to have this house that we have been seeing in this trailer that's boarded up, and it shows all of the kids going into the house and looking around like there's something inside of this house that's drawing them there. And later on, we actually see this house actually in the pitch black with red skies and what looks like bats flying around it at first, but it's actually not bats. It's a bunch of upside down dragon-esque bat creatures. And it appears that these kids have found a way to go into the upside down, and more importantly, willingly go into the upside down, as it cuts to a scene of them actually riding their bikes through it. So we want to know, of course, how do they get back into the upside down? Where is the gate? A lot of questions are being answered. Why are they so nonchalantly going in the upside down? Is that scene with the bats that shows the bats and then shows the things flying around it, is that also a an upside down world, or is that the world now? Is that where the gateway is? Is that how this works? It shows Nancy and Steve literally saying, see you on the other side, as they climb up a rag that apparently takes you to the upside down. Because it would make sense. You would climb up to go into the upside down and be on the ceiling. You follow me? Does that make sense? It all makes sense from what I saw. And those are the questions that they're really making us ask. And last but not least, and of course I can't forget this, we see at the very end, and I mean the very end, we get our first look at the new big baddie. That's right, the new big bad guy looks like something from the 80s. He looks like a Hellraiser Cenobite mixed with I don't know, Carnage. Yeah, and he has these long claw-like hands, and he talks about how you have lost the war and our suffering is almost over. It's some really intense shit. The new big baddie looks absolutely insane. I'm really crossing my fingers that's Victor Creel or Robert Englund under there. We get one shot of Victor Creel with his eyes cut out or something, and I'm assuming that's just because he can see things that he can't unsee, so they took his eyes from him so that way he can never see normal again, because he can only see things when his eyes are closed. That's a really long shot, don't quote me on that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost there. We are literally, today is the 13th of April. We are on our way to May 27th premiere date. I can't wait. I'll be covering it here, doing reviews of every episode. I promise you that. So make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, please make sure to like. Also check me out. You know I do video game stuff. I'm a Twitch streamer, twitch.tv/illsun4k. I stream every Thursday and Friday night, and some Monday nights too. Thursday night is the Total Terror-thon Thursday. Friday night is the Fright-Filled Fridays, and Monday night is the Monday Night Massacre when we're doing horror games, which is what I mostly do, but I stream other regular stuff as well, such as Elden Ring or God of War, or even Crash Bandicoot Trilogy. So again, guys, let me know what you think about the trailer down below, and make sure you like and subscribe, and hit me up on twitch.tv/illsun4k. I appreciate it so much, guys. Looking forward to watching Stranger Things. Hope you are too. Enjoy it.